Good morning, TMI. That's right, yeah. It's our last chapel all together this entire year. Last chapel, folks. Now, I'm going to open us up in prayer. I have a couple of opening comments after that, and then if you have some announcements, I would ask you to start thinking about those. Come on up while after I get done with my prayer and while I'm giving my opening remarks. The Lord be with you. Lord God, we thank you so much for the 2018-2019 school year. We thank you for our graduating seniors, for our rising seniors, for our rising juniors, and our rising sophomores. We thank you above all for summer break coming up, Lord. Give us some refreshment, help us to have a great time. Today, as we celebrate the creativity of our students in the Muse, we ask you to be with us, help us to be attentive, and help us to be supportive. It's in your name we pray. Amen. So, how are y'all doing this morning? Have y'all had an eventful morning? I got a picture for you. I'll ask, let's see if you see anything weird about this picture. Now, as we prepare for announcements, I want to say this, my criteria for a good practical joke is that it doesn't harm anybody spiritually or emotionally, and it doesn't harm any property, and it's creative. And, well, that was all creative and didn't harm any property, and it was a pretty good prank. How many of y'all helped turn all the chairs back around this morning? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And the last thing, if you were one of the people who instigated that, you might be wondering, where's my punishment? Is anything coming for me? Well, all I've got to say is, a lot of religions have a belief in karma. In Christian scripture, it's expressed in Galatians chapter 6 as what a person sows, they will reap. And I can tell you that whenever I was a young person and senior, junior, sophomore, freshman, I did a lot of practical jokes to people, and they've come back upon me. May your practical jokes come back upon you. Announcements, please.
All right, class of 2020, there are still just a few of you who still need to finish your individual interviews. So tomorrow's reading day, come by my office, schedule in a time, maybe after exams as well in the following week. In addition, this summer there will be drop-in sessions for you to work on your essays, to ask more about your college list. And then finally, I understand some of you have questions whether to take the essay portion for the SAT or ACT. Check with your college requirements. Most colleges don't require it, but others do. That's it for now.
Okay. First, seniors. All seniors in decorated skirts after chapel in the amphitheater, I would like to get a photo of your lovely legs. Okay, second, we had some secretary elections that were redone. So for the sophomore class of next year, Eleni Duta is the winner there. And then juniors to be seniors, Anish Padala is now secretary. Third round of business. I need to meet with all the newly elected student council members, which if you were elected president or student council rep of your class, I need to meet with you, or if you are the battalion commander, NHS president, Interact president, and boarding rep. I need to meet with you briefly right up here after chapel, please. Thank you.
I just want to recognize and thank the tutors for the Wright House this year. If you guys could stand up, I want to give you a round of applause.
So, Rocketry Club announcement, the future will be launching today at Flex on the field. It will go off. We fixed what we needed to fix. Hi, Claire. And I just wanted to say congratulations to Anish over here for winning.
Okay, so this is my final chapel announcement, and this is for seniors. So after chapel and after we take our photo of our skirts, you're allowed to pick up your cap and gown. Cadets, you'll also be able to pick up your tassel, so please go do that throughout the day just after chapel. Also, if you haven't turned in your athletic jerseys or whatever and your community service hours, you need to do that because you can't get your cap and gown without it. So with that, that's the end. Go Panthers!
So, as some of you know, Anna Paula is going to be going back to Mexico soon. So I just wanted to say happy 6 months, and they have been the best. Thank you.
Rising seniors and rising juniors who are peer mentors, remember our meeting during Flex in the Hearth End Dining Room.
I think all of you know that Mr. Serrato is leaving this year, and we need a new Politics Club sponsor. So we'd like to call up Mr. Serrato and Dr. Laporte to pass over the crown of the Politics Club sponsor. Move on.
Use things to do. Come on.
No, we need you to yield. Just put on the crown. Put on the crown. Okay, yield down.
I just want to say that as an anarchist, I never accepted this crown. I'm just going to pass it to Dr. Laporte.
Go Panthers. The ceremony is complete.
Okay, monarchy the way it should be. All right, come on.
Hello, everybody. So it's Thursday, and as you know, I do a thing called Thankful Thursday. And so I had as many people as possible submit me things for Thankful Thursday. So we have a lot today. I would like to start with I am thankful for Miss Brown, wherever she is. I don't know if she knows Miss Brown. Arlene is thankful for Claire, Anaya, Kaylee, and Chloe. Seb is thankful for the boys. Callie is thankful for the cheer team and Coach Q. Mary Arden is thankful that her big brother is finally graduating. Elizabeth is thankful for her E. And Andy is thankful for her E. Marisa is thankful for Julia. Jacob Perez is thankful for Dr. Cook and the Holy Cutie Trinity. Demetrio is thankful for Dana. Sydney is thankful for Jake is thankful for Father Scott. Becca is thankful for Baller Queens. Barbie and Emily Lawitz. Karina is thankful for Grant and their new adventure in Colorado. I am getting texts in the middle of this. Ian is thankful for 12 hours of testing next week and Jorge Serrato. And Mel and Samantha are thankful for me, supposedly. Jack Whitmore is thankful for his seniors, and Wyatt, Evan, and Nico. Then, lastly, I'm thankful for everybody here. That's it. Go Panthers.
It's Thankful Thursday, and there's one guy who's let us know what other people are thankful for all year long.
Daniel Espy, we're thankful for you.
Go Panthers.
One last thing, I've been asked to get a picture of everybody standing and waving. Everybody stand up. Wave! Love you. You may be seated.
So the creative writing class is pleased to present to you the 2019 edition of The Muse, TMI's literary magazine. We have work in here from 6th graders, seniors, faculty, staff, and everyone in between. We have poetry, short fiction, personal essays, paintings, drawings, photography. Some of it's very funny, some of it's uplifting. We have sad pieces, dark pieces, puzzling pieces, things that make you think. And we'd like to thank everybody who submitted. We really appreciate you trusting us with your work. We're sorry to those whose work we couldn't include. It was often a very difficult and sometimes arbitrary decision, and I hope you'll submit in the future. Thank you to the creative writing class and the diligence and seriousness and creativity with which they approach this process. Thank you to the Fine Arts Department, both for submitting work to us and nurturing the talent that produced our visual art. Thank you to the English department for funding this project, and thank you to Father Nate, whose idea it was to have us share some work with you today. And we're going to have some brief selections accompanied with visual art. It's just a small fraction of what's in the Muse, so if you like what you see, you can purchase it during flex time. Look for Delaney, she'll be out there with the box. You can also buy a copy from me tomorrow in Coates 209 during reading day, $5. We're going to begin with some poetry.
The Artist by Chloe Bryan, inspired by W Magazine, Volume 7, 2018, the art issue. Never tell artists what to do, because passion lays elsewhere. In a book-crammed room with a record bin, creativity awaits. Steering me to his studio, you walk by one of the best Basquiats in the world, not in a museum, but in his home. A triptych of faces lines the walls. Skulls and masks all hang on a blue background. In the studio, you find paint splattered on the walls. The light beams come through the window and land on the paintbrushes. He devotes himself full time to expanding his mind. When one tells you you've defined art history, you'll be good enough. So he believes. In this world, we are starving for the urge to be unique. Trading money for magic seems like a good deal. That magic will make you create a masterpiece. People seem to be buying things that aren't important. Pop art and sculptures are what they want. But until then, passion lays elsewhere.
Right.
Call Me Back by August Schmidt. I was supposed to call my friend back in May of 1983. It was back in those times where no one had cell phones, and we had to use our big house phones with the curly cords that were attached to the wall. Regardless of the practicality of my phone, I was supposed to call my friend back. He had called me, but I was playing outside when the phone rang, and my sister just let it ring. That meant I needed to call him back, but I didn't. I had been moving across time so quickly in my youth that a day felt like a minute, a week a day, and in the mind of an 8-year-old, calling your friend back was not your main focus. In fact, it wasn't until months later that I even saw my friend again. We went to different schools by that time. I was 9. I was biking from my school to my house. It was a Friday. There were many kids biking. As I turned into my neighborhood, there were fewer kids biking. That's when I saw my friend. He was almost hidden, just off to the side of the road. He wasn't moving or speaking, so I went up to him, dragging my bike. That's when I saw his face and his arm and, well, practically everything on his body. All my 9-year-old mind could process was that it was a mess. He was dying. But I didn't know. His face was nearly unrecognizable. It was crimson red and covered in small chunks of asphalt. His arm was turned at an extremely unnatural angle, as was his ankle. His clothes were torn, shredded almost. He was the most terrifying thing I had ever seen in my life. I didn't know what to do with the bloodied boy laying at my feet. He wasn't moving, except for his eyes. In them I saw fear and terror, but I also saw recognition. My friend recognized me. He had found someone he knew. My 9-year-old mind thought, maybe he could have been fine. But I know now that he was dying at my feet, and I was the last person to see him alive. Speechless, I stood, staring at my bloody friend. He made an attempt to talk. No voice made its way out of his throat. He tried again, and in such a soft and somehow sweet voice, he said, "You never called me back." My shocked 9-year-old self answered in a way that matched my confusion. "Sorry, time is weird and dangerous." That was the last conversation my friend would ever had. I stood for a long time over my dead friend, watching him. I didn't know that he was dead. It wasn't for an hour or so that someone saw us. A neighbor walked past me and my friend and realized something was wrong. I sometimes imagine what that neighbor must have thought when he saw me, expressionless, standing over my bloody, dead friend with 2 bikes cast aside nearby on that Friday afternoon.
Woman by Pony Bryan, inspired by W Magazine's September 2018 issue. Beauty awakens, visceral, swaggering, and bold. Your dream girl. She's a natural. In the uncanny valley, she tells you that the carnival is over. She presents her subject in a spirited way. She's the urban legend, with her dream age outfits. You take a momentary glance at her. She looks back. You have a meeting of the minds. The lady of leisure, the quiet revolutionary, the soft power. People are complex, but the female gaze is infinite. Forever true. The protagonist in a different lens, keeping memories of the past alive. Women of influence. Women will never die, nor be silenced.
Start with Hana Hockey. That's where the story begins, over and over, no matter how many times you try to tell it. It's a magical disease of mysterious origins. Only some people are susceptible to it, and we don't know why. No one is quite sure where it came from, but what we do know is what it does. It's a disease of unrequited love, where your feelings manifest as flowers, not your lungs, making you cough up bloody petals, roots curling through your chest, stems scratching up your airway, slowly suffocating you on the proof that they don't love you back. There is, of course, a cure. Modern medicine has come so far that they can surgically remove the flowers from your lungs. It's a dangerous procedure, but a survivable one, and most doctors recommend it over letting the disease progress to the point of death. Despite that, only around half of the people who get Hana Hockey choose to go through with the surgery, because there's a side effect of removing these flowers. They are truly a physical manifestation of love. remove the flowers, and you remove what they represent. In the happiest of these stories, the person falls out of love. They can even keep an amiable relationship with the person, never close, but still cordial, just a complete neutral, as polite as to a stranger on the street. In the saddest of these, you can forget a person entirely. To many, losing the person you love is worse than the disease. So now that you know, we start our story. The first time, you brush it aside. You were in the gardens last night, were you not? That tickle in the back of your throat is but a symptom of allergy season, and so is that ever-persistent cough. And if you fall into your best friend's orbit a little bit more every day, it's not unusual. That's what friends are for, isn't it? It's not until the rose petals are so bloody that you're coughing up stems, thornless roses, thank goodness, are the sign of love at first sight, that you stop trying to deny it, but you still hide it because you couldn't bear to share. You write your will, set your things in order, and every waking moment is spent either by their side or coughing up the flowers that it causes, until suddenly your best friend learns that you stipulated there be no flowers at your funeral. The second time you wake up with flowers on your pillow, though you, of course, don't know it isn't the first, you know what it is right away. You know who it's for, and you're so scared to die so painfully, and even though it's just a few petals, there's a half-remembered sensation of hacking coughs and choking on full flowers, and you set up an appointment. There's a horrible month where something feels gone, and you can't understand why, because when you look at the person that people tell you was once your best friend, you don't think you could pick them out of a crowd. The third time you wake up with flower petals on your pillow, you know you can't leave them behind, but you can't confess, can't add that pressure, so you do your best to hide it, but you're so tired though you don't know why, that you slip up and they find out and you're crying in their arms because they love you, but they don't love you, and all the platonic affection in the world won't pull the roots from your body. They beg you to get the surgery. You beg them not to ask again because you don't think you'll be able to say no. It's the night after they weep at your grave that they cough up the first flower petal. The fourth time you wake up with rose petals on your pillow, you're immediately filled with a sense of hopelessness, that nothing about this could ever work out, though you don't know why you're so sure. So you tell because it's not fair to hide it, is it? So you tell, and suddenly there's lips on yours, and you take the clearest breath you've had in weeks, even as they steal the air from your lungs. Hana Hockey, after all, is a disease of unrequited love, and maybe it's possible for this story to have a happy ending after all.
Barbras by Colby Guillory. It's taken you all day to climb up this hill, but the view isn't at all what you expected. Instead of being graced with a sunrise, you are being graced with a Bob rise as your coworker, Bob, begins rapidly ascending into the sky. You are forced to turn away as an opaque light emanates from Bob's shell. The gross incandescence brings you to your knees, as the only place where you are free from the tyranny of Bob's light is within the darkness of the earth. The second sun hangs low in the sky, its oppressive rays peeling back your skin with the swiftness of a Galapagos tortoise in peril. The sizzling noise coming from behind you is none other than your own flesh boiling. You can't feel it. You can't even move. All of your nerves have disintegrated. Why, Bob? Your throat, like melted candle wax, says. Why have you done this to me? All I wanted was to go on a hike. Bob is unreachable, heavenly spear that he is, way up in the sky. After much fanfare, he takes notice of your plight and moves closer. His inhuman brilliance turns you into goo. Your arms melt into your legs, and your legs into your torso, until you resemble a wingless dodo bird. Keep back, Bob, you scream in your mind, until sound itself becomes alien to you, along with thought. The earth shakes with Bob's every step, sundering into a cavalcade of rifts and fissures, belching steam like an ancient engine. Now Bob is above you. He touches you. You are no more.
First spring. Last summer, you and I planted this winding row of Mexican heather, each one placed deliberately and gently in its place for that exact effect. Done and dusted, we were dazzled by the tiny purple buttons sitting innocently on the palms of the lingering lime green leaves. Every evening, The army of heather jumped in the breeze, greeting us home. When winter blew its cold breath over their pretty faces, I feared their death. No worries, you said. No wasted blanket, no dusty tarp could entomb them. I laid to rest any thought, any plan of rescue. Then the sun greeted me this morning, earlier than yesterday. You laid sleeping, so I rose with the light. With ambition and newness, I stepped upon cool green sprigs popping up in between the pockets of my toes. Fingers, donned with rubber gloves, reached down and choked tightly the brittle arms. The second before my breath heaved up the trunk, my tickled eye caught the glitter of green sitting snugly beneath the brown, dusty cloud.
Big Boy by Colby Guillory. I was slowly pulling in a line from the brackish waters. Something on the other end was pulling back, strongly jerking the lines back into the water. I had to brace myself against the deep, mossy ground. Leaning back into the bank, I pulled with all my weight. Slowly, a creature emerged. With every pull and every step back, more of the creature revealed itself to me. Yellow, soulless eyes. Long teeth immersed in the chicken flesh on my hook. Thick limbs that ended in short, curved claws. And a long tail that was more of a mace than an extra limb. I was thoroughly surprised by this revelation. The chicken I used as bait was meant to bring me back a crab, not a super lizard. Still, though, I wanted to know what the lizard tasted like. So I redoubled my efforts and pulled in even harder. The hook protruding through its cheek held surprisingly well. The lizard, more focused on keeping its face intact than pulling me in, gave ground. Then I noticed something was amiss. This creature, easily 300 pounds, was being pulled in by someone less than half its weight. The super lizard was letting me win. It wanted me to pull it close so that it could tear out a chunk of my leg, then my arms, then I'd be finished. The super lizard slowly drew closer, within 10 feet now. I was doing my best not to dispel the illusion we had created together. I wrapped my right hand around a line so that I could slowly reach my left down to my waist where my fillet knife was. The knife was definitely not meant for this, but if it could cut through a fish's scales and bones, then I see no reason why it couldn't cut through the monster's gray hide. My only concern was the knife's thinness. It could break if I slashed at it and the blade caught. I had to catch the beast's belly. By 5 feet, we reached a stalemate. Both of us were applying a token amount of resistance while remaining immobile. I was tired. The super lizard knew. To expedite things, I looked down, as if with exhaustion. The monster lunged at me. I went low, throwing my left arm upwards towards the beast's belly. Success. I was in. It was now that I realized I didn't think this through. Now the beast was on top of me. It was unable to claw or bite at me, but that doesn't mean it didn't try. Slowly, the lizard's cold, blue blood poured over me. It took 15 minutes for the beast to die. Finally, I had dinner.
Thank you for your time and attention, and thank you for this year. Let us go forth to grow in wisdom, integrity, service, excellence, and reverence. You are dismissed.